Hello and welcome. Today we are jumping into a really profound story from the Maharatnakuta Sutra. Now, this isn't your typical story about a big divine war. Nope, this is a tale about a bodhisattva whose meditation was so incredibly powerful that it brought these celestial demon kings, the Maras, to their knees in absolute terror. Let's dig into how that happened. Okay, just stop and think about that statement for a second. This is coming from the Maras. These are beings who literally embody temptation and illusion. And they are telling the Buddha himself that they are more afraid of a single bodhisattva than of countless Buddhas. You have to ask, what in the world could Manjushri have possibly done to deserve that kind of fear? So our story kicks off not with some epic battle scene, but with this really bizarre and terrifying mystery. Seemingly out of nowhere, all at once, across countless different realms, the entire world of the Maras just starts to fall apart. I mean, this slide just perfectly captures the horror of what they were facing. One minute, they're these all-powerful kings living it up in glittering celestial palaces, surrounded by all this beauty, and then the next, poof, their palaces are dark, crumbling ruins, their beautiful celestial maidens have turned into withered old women, and they themselves are suddenly these frail, weak old men who can barely even stand up. You can just feel the sheer panic in their words, right? They have absolutely no clue what is happening. They're asking themselves, is this it for us? Is this our personal doom? Or is it something bigger? Is the whole world ending? Is this the final cosmic catastrophe? All their power is gone, and they are totally and completely lost. So, in their absolute desperation, these once proud kings, they do something you would never, ever expect. They go looking for help from the very being they've spent their entire existence trying to stop. The irony here is just, wow. The kings of illusion, right? The masters of temptation who literally tried to stop the Buddha from achieving his own enlightenment. And now here they are, showing up in front of him in these pathetic, withered bodies, begging him to save them. And this is where they lay it all out for the Buddha. They tell him about their crumbling world, their decaying bodies, but then they reveal the real source of their terror. And this is the crazy part. It's not a weapon. It's not an army. It's just a name. They say the moment they even hear the name Manjushri, they are just paralyzed by a fear that's greater than anything they have ever known. So, the Buddha, being full of compassion, he listens to their plea. And now, finally, this great mystery starts to unravel. He reveals that this terrifying force they're experiencing, it's not an attack at all. It's something much, much more profound. And this really is the question at the heart of the story, isn't it? What kind of power are we even talking about here? It's obviously not physical force. What could possibly be so overwhelming that it shakes the very foundations of reality for the Maras? And here it is. The answer, the source of all this chaos is, in fact, the Bodhisattva Manjushri. But, and this is the kicker, he hasn't lifted a finger, he hasn't attacked anyone, he has simply entered a really deep meditative state, something called the Mara subduing samadhi. Their entire reality is collapsing simply as a side effect of his insight into the true nature of things. So you might be asking, how do you get this kind of power? Well, the sutra actually lists out a bunch of practices, but these 4 are key. And notice, it's not about learning some secret magic spells. It's about deep faith, being truthful, loving quiet reflection, and this last one is the most important, not grasping onto anything. This is a power that's born from inner discipline and wisdom, not from external force. So at this point, Manjushri himself appears, coming out of his meditation. And instead of, delivering the final blow to his terrified enemies, he does something completely unexpected. He starts to teach them. And this just reveals the heart of his compassion. He tells them, look, you hate your withered old bodies, don't you? You want your palaces back? Well, to get rid of that, you have to develop that exact same feeling of weariness, that yan wan, for the things inside you that cause suffering, your own greed, your own attachments. He's drawing a direct line from their external misery to their internal state. And then he gives them this really profound teaching on emptiness. He uses the I as an example, something we feel is so fundamentally us, and he just deconstructs it. He shows them that it's not some solid, independent thing that you can grasp. It has no fixed self. And by extension, all the things the Madaras cling to, their power, their palaces, their very identities, none of it has any solid, permanent reality either.
This teaching, it lands, it hits them, and it leads to this incredible climax of the story. The Maras, having just received this direct lesson on how reality actually works, go through one final and much more meaningful transformation.
The impact of this lesson is just staggering. The sutra says that as soon as they heard this teaching, a full 10,000 of the Mara kings instantly awakened. They gave rise to the mind of enlightenment. Not one, not a dozen, 10,000. And with that, Manjushri restores their celestial forms. The palaces are glimmering again, their bodies are young and powerful. But they are fundamentally changed. They weren't just beaten back into submission, they were liberated. This was never an act of war, it was an act of radical and, yes, terrifying compassion. Ultimately, a story like this leaves us with a question that we really have to turn inward. You know, we all have our own maras, our attachments, our greed, the illusions that build up these palaces of ego in our minds. And this story suggests that maybe the greatest power isn't in fighting them head on, but in cultivating a wisdom so deep, so profound, that their very foundations just dissolve. And that's a powerful thought to end on.